in real estate, if you're not actively filling your pipeline, eventually it's going to go dry. And you might have some money in the bank, but you're going to have to start all over, and that momentum dies off.
Welcome to Creating Community, a podcast designed to bring area leaders, business owners, and others together to better our community. I'm your host, Jake Starkey.
And I'm Dorian Strickland. We're the owners of 1820 Coffee House and 1820 Marketing in the heart of Alvin, Texas.
If you're a first-time listener, we encourage you to subscribe to hear more. You can use Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts.
In this episode of Creating Community, we're speaking with Parker White. Parker's a real estate agent at Nuvilla Realty in Manvel, Texas. We talk about transitioning from the military to an entirely new career.
Welcome to the podcast, Parker. Glad to have you on.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate this opportunity.
So, you kind of mentioned in the intro, but what went behind your decision to get out of the military after 8 years?
I joined the military at 19, and, I kind of didn't have, big expectations of it. I didn't know if I was going to retire or just, do 4 years and use my benefits to go to college after that. Well, I traveled the world. I was stationed overseas for a couple years and then moved around some more. And I finally ended up in San Antonio, where I kind of decided that I was going to transition out and start a family and raise my kids closer to their cousins and stuff like that.
Well, I know we've talked about when you've left the military, you went into an entirely new career, basically went into real estate agent when that is not what you were doing in the Air Force. So how did you said you took a program that they offered you in the military. So what was that program about, and how did you learn about it?
So it's called the DoD Skill Bridge program. It's kind of it's a newer program in the Department of Defense, And so it was a new program, but I started kind of getting interested in real estate a couple years back, but more of the real estate investing side. I started listening to some podcasts a long time ago, probably 2016, 2015. And, I liked the freedom of it. In the military, you don't really have some freedoms, and it's very strict, and you know exactly what you're going to be doing from 6. Well, actually, you kind of don't, but you're at the liberty of whatever they tell you to do. So, you're on the clock 24/7, but there's really no freedom to it, per se. So it kind of, real estate was going to be this vessel to kind of taking control of my life, whether it was selling real estate, which is what I'm doing now, and eventually hoping to jump into investing.
So that brings up a good point, because to me, I know that there's a lot of people who get into the military and enjoy the structure that comes along with it, and then when they leave the military, seek out that structure in their next career. And it seems to me that you kind of had that structure in the military, and then you said, okay, I'm going to do something different. How has that transition been for you from having, like you said, someone basically telling you what to do to some extent every moment of every day, to then turn around and go, there is nobody telling me anything to do except for my wife telling me to get out of the house in the morning, right? How did you?
Exactly. So to be honest with you guys, it's been really tough. So like I said, I joined really young, and I've kind of had this, Uncle Sam over my back for 8 years. And, I find myself really wanting that structure now and kind of needing it, or not necessarily needing it, but, I relied on it for so many years, and it's been really hard to kind of I have to be every portion of the military kind of within myself. I have to be the leader, the follower, in the sense of I have to make a schedule, but I have to enforce myself to stay on that schedule. So I was talked about getting into real estate for freedoms, and it turns out there's nothing free about this job either. It's kind of, very, you get out what you put in, and you have to be disciplined. So I thought it was kind of work for myself and make your own hours, and not that I had higher expectations than that, but it turns out it's really tough, and you have to be very, very strict with everything, marketing, talking to people, and just sticking to your schedule.
Sounds like that's a pretty tough transition to make from being completely, maybe not completely controlled, but generally controlled, to having almost a newfound freedom. So what is it about real estate that allows you or that helps you get up in the morning, that gives you that sense of energy that, hey, I'm going to keep doing this, even though it's not, going from 19 to, 8 years later, that you were always controlled, for lack of a better term, to having this newfound freedom. So how do you get yourself to stay disciplined?
I've been married for almost 8 years now, and I have two children, two young children. I have a little 2-year-old boy and a young daughter who's 7 months old. And, I kind of, like I talked about the freedoms, and in the military, I was gone a lot from them, just long hours at work and whatnot. So I didn't get to spend as much time with the family as I'd wanted to. So it kind of reminds me of, like, I get up for them, and I know that if I don't put in everything, I'm kind of cheating them in a sense. So I just try to stay cognizant of, I got out of that structure, but now I just get to structure, I'm my own boss to where I get to structure my own life in a sense that I can create more time for them if I go harder within certain hours, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it seems to me that the benefit to real estate or being your own boss in any aspect of the word is you can work as hard as you want or not as much as you want. Obviously, the less you work, the less successful you'll be, but it seems that being your own boss, whether it's marketing or real estate or whatever it may be, you were able to go, okay, I'm going to get up every morning, I'm going to do this so that way in the afternoon and the evening I can be with my family.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
I know that and it seems like that would be, it seems to me when I have a lot of projects going on, I kind of put it in coast because it's, okay, things are going, but you can't do that. I can't do it in marketing, you can't do it in real estate. How do you kind of structure your time? Because you're finding leads, helping clients. How do you kind of structure that?
So I guess I mean, as of right now, I've only been doing this a couple months. So I have a lot of time to give to the clients that I am working with right now. So I wake up in the morning and I work out. I've learned that, honestly, I've ran and worked out more since I got out of the military, just strictly for, like I said, creating that own structure of my day. And it really helps with my mental space and, kind of setting your whole day up for success. So, I mean, I guess my schedule, I try to get either to the office or to like my home office between 8 and 9. But usually I get up in the morning to kind of work out, and then I help my wife get the kids up and kind of get them breakfast and get them ready for the day. And then I'll go to work. And the first couple hours of the day is prospecting, whether it could be cold calling or door knocking and, different types of marketing techniques of myself. Because if you don't have any inventory of like houses to sell per se, you have to market yourself. And that's kind of what real estate is. Like, I'm not only selling houses, but I have to sell myself to people to trust me, to employ me, to help them can get what they need in real estate. So the first half of the day like that is prospecting. And then the second half of the day is following up with clients that I have, making sure with contracts that are already pending, and just kind of seeing how everything, because you're kind of a project manager as well.
Right.
And you are, I mean, it's actually insane. People think realtors only show up in a fancy car and a suit, and they open a door, they shake hands with the home buyer, and they show them the house, and then the realtor goes home and they get a paycheck. That is not the case. And people think of realtors as like maybe one step higher than a car salesman. You know what I mean? Like they think it's so easy, and there's a lot more to it than a lot of people know.
Yeah, the thing that always struck me about real estate is that the best ones seem to be on call 24/7, right? Like if you have a client, they work all week and they want to go look at a house on Saturday, you're going with them.
Correct.
Or Sunday, and you're going with them. And so to me, it was always about the time commitment that I look at for a real estate agent. And because you are your own boss, you are your own master, you have to have those structures in place so that way you keep going. Because otherwise, you're sitting at home eating cereal all day,
Right.
thinking that you're getting stuff done, and you're really not.
Yeah, and you can actually, it's I mean, sad to say, it's very easy to fall into that. You know, if you get a couple deals under contract and then you can get complacent and think, oh, I'm working because I'm just following up with my deals that are already going. And the sad truth is, like, yeah, those might actually close and you might get a paycheck for those. But if you're not actively, in real estate, if you're not actively filling your pipeline, eventually it's going to go dry. And you might have some money in the bank, but you're going to have to start all over, and that momentum dies off.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in the short amount of time that Jake and I have known you, and we met you about 6 months ago, maybe 5 months ago. I mean, it hasn't been that long, but we've seen that you're a real go-getter. I know I tell people all the time that you're going to work harder for me than I am. You know, if somebody's looking for a realtor and I recommend you, that's what I tell them is that, hey, you're a go-getter, you're a hard worker, you're a hustler. So how do you make yourself continue to do that day after day when you may not have a check coming in for 30 days, 45 days? Because we know it takes time to close on a house. I don't think any of us that has purchased a house thought it was a fast, easy process.
Right. So, I mean, I'm a go-getter in the sense that I got into this business to help, you know, my friends and my newfound friends that I'm going to make in this business. I genuinely love helping people. And so if I will do anything for anyone with almost like being naive about it in a sad way, I guess.
No.
I'm very quick to give you a shirt off my back, you know, and I'm going to work hard for you because you deserve that out of me when you entrust me with this biggest purchase of like an asset for maybe in your whole life. And I think it's a big deal, and I don't take it lightly, you know, and I always am going to work hard for you, but also, like I was talking about, my family. And I know even my kids are young, but eventually they're going to look back and say, my dad was always working, but he was there when he needed to be. And I want to give them, I don't know, I want to be successful for them, you know. I want to show them like hard work can pay off.
Right.
I really think that's important nowadays. Everything seems to be getting followers on Instagram. That's all you got to do, and you post a picture, and you get famous, and you get rich and stuff. And I think somewhere along the way, we've lost the idea that hard work is kind of required.
Right.
To get things done. And
it's the instant gratification age, really.
Yeah, and I think showing kids, look, it's going to not be fun for a long time, but it does pay off. You know, and I think any small business owner struggles with that, and that they look at it and go, okay, it's been a month and I'm not a millionaire. What's going on? How come it's not working out? And I know in my life I look back at things and gone, I can see where I quit, and then I can see that like we were right at the turn. Right. Things were getting.
If only I had kept going.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if you'd have just kept your mouth shut, what would your life be like? You know, and then that's a weird thing to me. And so we're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsors, but then we're going to get back with Parker White.
Hey, we wanted to take a quick moment and tell you a little bit about 1820 Marketing, the producers of this podcast. We believe that when businesses have quality marketing, it gives business owners the freedom to focus on what they do best. We design websites, produce videos, and create marketing materials that help our clients grow their business. Find out more at 1820marketing.com. It's something different. Now, back to the show.
So we were kind of talking before the break about looking at that curve and not stopping and kind of following through. And I got to wonder what the conversation has been like with your wife in the past, because you had this great program that the military offers where you have 6 months like of a launch pad.
Yeah, I can explain the program.
But the thing to me is that you set this program and you went from structured, and your wife was probably very okay with the structure of 6 months. I'm going to be able to launch this. And then COVID hits.
Yeah.
And the launch pad might still be there, but now it's a little bit bumpier.
So, yeah, definitely. So I guess my timeline was I started this program. So the program essentially is you can pick an employer of your choice, any career field. And so they basically have to sign some paperwork through the government. Like I sent my broker a piece of paper, or actually it's like a packet. Like, who am I kidding?
Yeah,
nothing in the military.
Government, right?
Nothing in the military is easy. But there's a whole packet, and my broker basically said that he would be responsible for me for, X number of hours per week, because for the 6 months of this program, the military was still going to pay me. So it was the last 6 months of my contract. I just didn't have to wear a uniform and go to the base anymore. I just got to go and learn hands-on of the real estate industry. Well, that was February 10th. That's when I started, February 10th.
February 10th, that's a good time to start.
Yeah, so February 10th, that started. And mind you, also, my wife was 9 months pregnant, and we had our second child March 18th.
March 18th, the day before quarantine started.
Yes. So all this in a little amount of time, and I was studying to get my license, and then I passed all my courses and then I had to schedule the test. So I was thinking, I'm going to get ahead of this. I'm going to have my license for 6 months while I'm getting paid. And disclaimer, you can't double dip with the internship and real estate or whatever career field you go into.
Okay.
Because that's part of it. I can't get paid by the employer until I hit, my data separation.
Okay.
And got to put that out there for all those listeners.
Absolutely.
I wasn't defrauding the government, I promise.
But it shows that the government sees the value in training you for your next career.
Yes, and this program is going to be huge. It's like I said, it's a newer program, but everyone I've talked to it's been great for them because you go from that structure and then all of a sudden you do a transition program that is like Congress mandated. But I mean, you don't know. The military is so different from anything else out there. It really is. And all the civilian employers, the transition can be tough. It really can be tough. But I mean, anyway, so quarantine, and I couldn't take my test because the Pearson VUE, where you have to take your proctored exam, it was you had to be social distant, and it took me 2 months to schedule my test.
Wow.
So I finished my 6 courses. It's like 180 hours of coursework to get the license. And then you have to go take this proctored test, state and national. And I had to wait 2 months. So I didn't end up getting my license till May. I took it on Cinco de Mayo. And then I got my license May 5th.
Wow. That was the day after we opened here.
It was. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've been all in this the same amount of time.
You've mentioned a couple of times in the questions, we've talked about your wife and family. I didn't realize that your last child was born the day before quarantine started. But we know how that transition has gone for you. You're keeping yourself busy. You're doing those things. Clearly, your wife is busy with your children.
Right.
But how is this transition going for her? Because I know that for my wife, going from a job where I'm getting paid every other week or twice a month, whatever it is, that I go to a job where I no longer have that set pay, and now I'm going to get paid when I complete a job.
When you perform.
Right? So how's your wife dealt with that transition herself?
Honestly, my wife, Rebecca, so shout out to her. She's a real trooper, and I couldn't have asked for a better spouse and partner. She's super supportive of everything that we've gone through up until this point, and continued, not up until this point. Right before I got here, she was like, "This is it,
we're done."
No, but she's always been really supportive, and she's not one of those people that I long for the lavish lifestyle. She's never been like that, and she's a very modest woman, and she's a rock star of a wife and a mother, and she, like I said, she's been my biggest supporter, and she wouldn't care if I sold 1 house or 100 houses a year. She really wouldn't, and she knows that if it comes down to it, that we will each work 3 jobs and make it work. So that's my biggest thing is I have that in my back pocket at all times.
That's got to be really nice for you going out there working and hustling, knowing that no matter what, you have the support of a wife. So,
yeah,
fantastic.
I can come home crying every night, and she's going to be like, get back out there tomorrow, buddy.
Way to go, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Keep him going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, she stays super busy all the time. Like I said, 2 kids.
Oh, yeah.
And she's usually up before me, and I mean, days I don't work out,
Sure.
Yeah, she's up before me, and then she's up feeding the baby at night, and she's also her mom and her sister. They run a business themselves, so it's full time all the time.
Right.
Wow.
Well, I tell you what, there's a lot of industries. Like I came from the veterinary world, where a lot of the people that come to work day in and day out love the idea of coming in the morning. They do what they need to do. At the end of the day, they can leave knowing that they've accomplished certain tasks, right? I saved this pet. He's better. He couldn't walk in this morning, but he's walking out tonight, right? There's that sense of accomplishment every day. For you, you may work 1, 2, 3 months, maybe longer on one particular project along with all the other ones before it comes to a conclusion. So how do you wrap your brain around not having conclusion at the end of every day?
So I've kind of been conditioned for it. So in the military, a lot of people, and I'll get back into it. I'll circle around. It's going to be a full circle thing.
That's okay. We're good with that.
Yeah. So I'm conditioned for it because you're on the clock 24/7. There's really, if they call you at 2:30 in the morning for, a op, you go, like no questions asked. You got to get on a plane within 2 hours, like kiss your wife or husband goodbye. See you later.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm kind of used to that. I kind of actually struggled with that in the military I couldn't turn off. Like I would go to work and then I would come home and still be thinking about work. So I still struggle with that now, of the separation of the two, but I'm kind of conditioned of like, the day doesn't end at 5 o'clock, and it really doesn't. And it never has for me. But I think that was kind of why I also chose real estate, in the sense of, like I was saying, there's people that at 5 o'clock, I'm off the clock and don't talk to me, don't call me.
Yeah.
And I always struggled with, in the military, there's pay grades and time in service and whatnot. And it's kind of, I get paid the same amount as someone else,
Right.
who does a lot less work and doesn't care as much as I
Does
do.
enough to get by.
They just show up, collect a paycheck, don't get in trouble, and they make the same amount as me.
Right.
So that was another reason why I decided to get out.
And I'll be honest, that was my struggle in the military. That's exactly why I got out, because I felt that same thing. So I have a buddy that stayed in for the exact opposite reason. He's like, I like that they tell me what to do, when to do it, how to do it, where I'm going to live, where I'm going to work. But for me, it didn't work. So
And they don't even have to be good at it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. And you kind of pointed it out. To me, there are people who go through life trying not to get in trouble. And there's people who go through life trying to do something.
Right. You got to have purpose.
Yeah. And I don't understand going through life just trying to not get in trouble. Like, what's the bare minimum I can do when my boss isn't going to yell at me? What's the bare minimum I can do and still get a paycheck? And I don't understand that mentality at all. And that's probably why
I would agree.
we have our own
100%.
business.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why real estate can be good, because the harder you work, the more it'll pay you.
Right.
It'll take time. It's not immediate. And it's a weird thing, because I know a lot of people that became real estate agents part-time. Like they had a full-time job, they did the real estate, got their name out there, and the more business they got, they kind of had that inner thing of, if I can make X number of dollars a month in real estate, then I'm going to pull the trigger and quit my job. You kind of had that with the program that you were in, although you did have a hard deadline of it. 6 months.
Right. You knew it was going to end.
Yeah, you knew it was going to end. And that's probably better, because if you can do real estate on the side, you can drag it out for 3 years. And,
Right.
But for you, you knew you had to hustle and you had to get going, because 6 months you're done.
Yeah, and I kind of liked that. I kind of liked the fight or flight, like the back up against the wall. Like I knew, my paycheck, I haven't got a paycheck since August 19th. So like that was my last paycheck for the military, and I knew that it was going to stop. And I knew that you had to get the ball rolling and start getting your name out there and start building momentum, because like you said, it takes time in this business. And you can't, the first door you knock on, the first person you meet aren't going to be like, "Oh, you got your license yesterday. Like, let's go make a deal." Like, I want to sell my house right now.
I was just waiting for a guy to knock on my door.
Yeah. I mean, that does happen. Don't get me wrong. That does happen sometimes. But if you know a guy like that, send him my way.
We'll let you know. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, is that getting the runway going is a tough process. I think anyone started a business, which I would consider anyone in real estate their own business owner to a certain extent. They might work for a firm,
A broker or whatever.
you're an independent person.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we're building the railroad track while the train's going down. And there's some days where you get way out in front of it and you're like, oh, this is fantastic. This is a dream come true. And then some days you're like, oh,
Yeah, that train catches up.
Yes. And that is the thing that I wish as small business owners we could get in front of it just a little bit. Like that's the thing I look at. Like I don't want handouts. I don't need it to be easy, but like just a little bit easier.
A little bit would be okay.
A little bit less hard would be fantastic. And that's the struggle, especially you hit quarantine and the whole world shuts down.
It's been a struggle. Like as a social person, like every time I've come in here and talked to y'all, it's just like I miss talking to people, and I really do. And marketing yourself when you can't go out and meet people, or you can't go to a restaurant and just talk to random people. And I mean, at the grocery store, you can't even recognize people nowadays with masks on and stuff. Yeah. So if I have a mask on, how are they going to remember? Oh, that's Parker White. He's that realtor in town, and it's it's really tough. It really is. And yeah,
for sure
the quarantine, and it's already hard enough that 87% of realtors in the first 2 years quit.
Yeah, we actually just heard that statistic yesterday. Oddly enough, we were talking. It seemed like a really high number, which was surprising to us. But the question, I guess, obviously things are different during quarantine, but as a new realtor completely, it's got to be hard enough to get your name out there and tell people, hey, here's why you should choose me. Here's why you should let me represent you. It's got to be even harder during quarantine. So what do you bring to the table that maybe somebody else that's been doing it for 5 years doesn't bring to the table?
I think it would have to do with my my drive to make the deal happen. I'm going to work harder for you than an experienced agent. And let me explain. So I'm not going to be complacent and let something slip through the cracks. I'm going to be on top of the deal, from the very start where we sign a contract to closing day. And I'll be there on closing day with you. Because I know a lot of agents don't go to closings because they think they could be somewhere else.
Their work is done.
Right. They think that they could be moved on to another deal. No, I'm going to be with you from the start to the finish, because to me, this business isn't just about a transaction. It's about the relationships you build with those people. And I mean, I plan on doing business, whether it be with you or your sister, for years to come. Like if I do a deal with you, like your family now, and that's just how I treat people.
Well, and that's the thing. I think, being marketers, the thing that I find fascinating is that best marketing is word of mouth. Mm-hmm. So the better you are as a real estate agent for me, the better more likely I am to recommend you to someone else. And that is going to hold more weight than a newspaper ad or a Facebook ad or anything that marketing really is just to reinforce when someone drops your name in a conversation, go, oh yeah, I've heard that name. I know who that is.
Right. Just name recognition, really.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I think you've done a really good job of getting out there. We see you here a lot.
For sure. Yeah.
It's because I like coffee, guys.
Hey, we really appreciate you coming in and getting coffee, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The coffee's good at 1820.
Nice plug. Thank you.
Yes. Not a paid endorsement. Not a paid endorsement. All right. So here's the thing. How can people find you?
So I have an Instagram. It's Parker White Realtor. I have a Facebook page, or just follow my normal pages, Parker White. On my Instagram, it's not private, so you can just add me, and then if send me a message on either Facebook or Instagram. NuvillaRealty.com is my broker and I's website, so you can find out more about us there. And I'll even give you my phone number and email. All right, we'll put it in the show notes. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we'll put it. And Nuvilla is Nuvilla.
Yes. So it's like new villa, like a new house.
Okay.
New villa. That's where the name came from.
Okay. So is there anything that you would like to share with our listeners that we haven't asked you, or that you think is important for them to know?
No, I think you guys hit it all. I really do appreciate this opportunity of getting my name out there, and I love supporting local businesses, so I'm really glad that I became friends with y'all. And just if any of you guys need anything in the future, don't hesitate to ask, because I promise you're not going to find a harding worker realtor.
Well, like I've told several other people, and I've told you specifically, you are officially my realtor. So
well, that's good to hear. Yeah, that's good to hear. You also went to school with my dad, so that's actually a funny story.
It is a funny story. So just real quick, Jake and I ran into Parker when we were looking at a piece of property, and we were wearing masks and hats. And I said, man, I feel like I know this guy. And I even said to you, hey, I think I know you. Have I met you? You told me your name. And I said, no, that's not him. I don't know who it is. And it was several days later you came in and said, hey, I think you went to school with my dad.
Yeah, so I looked you guys up because you told me that you had one of my favorite things, which is coffee, right? You told me, oh, yeah, we own a coffee shop in town. So I looked it up, and then I found you guys on Facebook, and we had mutual friends, and it happened to be my dad. So,
yeah, I remember you came in and said, I think you might know my dad. And I was thinking Parker White, not Danny.
Yeah,
Danny.
yeah.
Hey, shout out to Danny, man. Long time no see.
Yeah, it's really a small world. It truly is.
Yeah.
Jake and I talk about the 6 degrees of separation all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's funny when people walk in the door and they become regulars here and we get to know them and then they mention somebody like, oh.
How do you know that person
Yeah, how do you
from
know that person?
Washington State?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, Parker, for being on Creating Community. Creating Community is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. If you'd like to help us out, a review would be greatly appreciated and is honestly the best way to help the podcast be heard by others. This podcast is produced by 1820 Marketing. For show notes, visit 1820coffeehouse.com/podcast.
Thank you for your time, Parker. We really appreciate you coming out and speaking with us.
Yeah, of course, guys. Anytime. I'd be happy to come back and do it again.